Welcome to the April 13th, 2016 Brentwood Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Would you all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
John Ritter,
Here.
Jeff Moore,
Here.
John Nermer is here, David Dimmitt,
Here.
Jennifer Hansen,
Here.
Hart Nelson.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Nurnberger. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes of the March 9th, 2016 meeting? Any additions, changes, deletions? Seeing none, they will be accepted as submitted. Next item on the agenda is old business, which we have none. Item 5, new business. We have 3 applications. They all are for subdivisions. It's the first applicant dealing with 2419 and 2423 Annalee Avenue. Someone here on that behalf? Mr. Ellerman, you want to come up? State your name and address, please.
My name is Edgar Ellerman, and my address is, my business address, 200 South Bemiston in Clayton.
Okay. Just by way of background for the commission members, this applicant was back in front of us in, I think it was February of this year, and we had some questions on how to subdivide, on the request to subdivide this plat. As you might recall, they're going to take the one lot and subdivide it, but then we had the issue of the existing structure straddling the proposed new property line. We didn't know how to deal with that, and the second issue was how it was the side yard setbacks on the 2 lots, and if the applicant wants to talk to us now, explain to us what your proposal is.
Well, if you'll take a look at the plat that we've submitted to you, I think we have worked in all the rules that you're looking for. We basically have drawn a line around the existing house so that we have the 8-foot setback all the way around the existing house. And it is basically just simply taken from the other lot that is to be on the south of it. I think we conform to everything that was discussed, and it's been passed by Todd, of course, as well. And I'm happy to try and answer any questions. Basically, if I could say, obviously what our intention is that when we tear the existing house down, we will come back and straighten this line out.
Okay. I will remind the commission that what we have in front of us is this request to subdivide. And under the code, it simply requires us to review the plat and ensure that it conforms with the minimum standards and requirements of this code or other ordinance of the city. So with that in mind, anybody have any questions for the applicant? Mr. Nuremberg.
My question is, you're setting back a couple of times to the lot or whatever. Are you gonna do a fence along those cutbacks or whatever to differentiate the lots?
No, I don't, I haven't considered that, frankly, but I don't think we probably would. The idea is that when we get a client for that site, we will explain to them what the situation is and that we intend then, if they proceed, to tear it out.
So who would be responsible for that grass, for instance, in those areas? How would you be able to say who's responsible for which lot? When it's a straight line or whatever, you can go straight back or whatever, and you know that's your property line.
Well, we're responsible for the whole thing.
Well, what
Until
about
it's
the
sold.
new owner that owns that property? They want to put a fence up straight down. They don't want to put a fence jagged or whatever. They want to put a fence straight down.
As I said, if we get a new owner, we're going to replat this so it is a straight line. So there won't be that situation will not come up.
Just a
Yeah.
clarification, it would be a boundary adjustment.
is all it would be. Yeah, we've got administrative process in place that would allow that to happen administratively.
This is simply to provide us a subdivision so we can say that there are 2 lots there, which do meet the code. We have no intention of keeping this configuration. I don't think we could sell this configuration.
So why wouldn't you tear down the other house at the same time and make it right now the same?
Because we have no buyer. We've lost our contract that we had on this property, basically due to the delays we've encountered.
What delays?
Well, we started out on this in July of 2013, and we have been
Not
here.
our delays, right?
Yeah, it was your delay, because we were told then that we had received a variance, and then we proceeded and were told to go ahead and submit for subdivision when we had a client. We got a client, we submitted for subdivision, and were then told that the variance we had expired, and we had no idea there was an expiration date to the variance. And we were then told that we had to basically reconfigure everything. We had to go back again to do that. And by so doing, the date that we had told the client that we felt that we were going to get the subdivision, we did not get, and we lost the contract. And it's too bad, because we had done a lot of work on it. So, but that's the way it goes. I'm not saying it's your fault, but it's the process's fault. And we were told, basically, afterwards, that the variance we had been granted had expired, and that it was improper, apparently, to give the variance in the first place. So I do consider that your fault. Yes, I do.
Mr. Stryler, again, under the code here, so what I'm looking at is section 405.140, and it says we are simply to see if to make sure the plat conformed with the minimum standards and requirements of this code. Have you had an opportunity to look at the plat?
Yes, I have.
And
And
does it
as
conf-
revised, we looked at this back in February, as you mentioned. And, there was a variance, we thought, in place, and as the petitioner thought as well. And we looked further into that and found out, to the petitioner's surprise, that the variance expires after a year, unless they apply for a plat in this case, or a building permit, what have you. And it was merely an oversight. Maybe there wasn't a point of clarification 3 years ago when they applied for the variance, but those things don't last forever. And it wasn't acted upon, so it disappeared, if you will. The variance was no longer valid, and so the petitioner very quickly revised the plat to meet all requirements of that section you just referenced. And so the plat that you have before you tonight does in fact meet our requirements and would meet the requirements of St. Louis County Recorders of Deeds and allow them to, have 2 official lots of record and one day sell those 2 lots and put one principal structure on each.
And once it meets and conforms with all the minimum standards, then our act is simply a ministerial act?
That's correct.
Okay, we really don't have any discretion at that point then to do anything other than recommend to the Board of Aldermen to go ahead and subdivide this?
Right, that's all we're doing tonight. And then they'll finally approve it via ordinance.
Okay. Are there any other questions by any of the commission members? Would anybody in the public care to address the commission or the applicant on this matter? Okay, seeing none, the chair would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Here we have a motion and a second to subdivide, to accept, well, let me ask something here, make sure we got the motion correct. Mr. Ellerman, I think I saw somewhere in there that this is both a request for acceptance of a preliminary and a final plat. Is that correct, or is it just a preliminary?
No, this is the final plat.
Okay.
Motion made to approve both preliminary and the final plat.
Second.
Okay, and Mr. Stryler, there's no problem with that. You can make sure that, do we need to make this motion contingent upon the final plat satisfying what has to be in there? Because again, I thought with this, what we had here in front of us, what we have here in front of us says preliminary plat as opposed to final
Yeah,
plat.
the
And I
preliminary was on the agenda, and there are allowances to approve, provide there's no conditions. He can make that the final simply by changing the title and putting a script on there that allows the clerk to sign that and the recorder of deeds, and that would simply make it a final. And that way he can maybe try 2 motions tonight to recommend approval of both, and we'll clarify and finalize that at the board level.
Do we need to make sure that the preliminary plat has on it whatever is required by ordinance to be a final plat?
Yes, and it does. And the script,
Okay.
and again, the final plat will go before the Board of Aldermen with the title change and the script on there.
All right.
And
so-
signed and sealed.
So just so the commission is clear, we have in front of us a motion to recommend to the Board of Aldermen to go ahead and subdivide this plat, and both the preliminary and the final plat
Yeah.
as well. Okay. Any further discussion or questions?
One final, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Is this a 50-foot setback for the whole neighborhood? Is there certain square footage for this lot in this area? It's for the home? There's no way of doing a 40-foot dividing line, one being 60, one being 40?
I think they're in the A district.
So it has to be a 50-yard
Yeah, it's a-
setback.
Yeah, it's a 5, what's the lot size? It's
Yeah.
10,000 minimum lot size.
Yeah, they have, the frontage is perfect, that's not a problem. But going back to the lot or whatever, it doesn't have anything to do, there's no code about,
A front yard?
basically, yeah,
It's a 25-foot front yard.
okay. No, I'm talking about the backyard, the
Oh, okay.
back.
The rear yard?
Yeah. Is there any,
25-foot.
yeah, so that's fine?
Well, there's not a building there. At the rear yard for the
Well-
A district is,
We don't know when the building that they're gonna put in there,
yeah,
right?
but once they bring a building, of course, we'll review it for setback compliance, and of course, they'll go through the architectural review board as well.
So they can't, they will have to abide by that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
All front, side, rear, they're going to have to apply,
But they could, I guess I was saying that they couldn't do a 40-yard front yard and then 60-yard front yard to split them out that way. They had to do the 50 and 50.
yeah, they needed to have the right lot width. And the lot's plenty big enough, so they provide the required lot width. I think they're trying to get that,
No, I'm not,
They're trying to get it as
I
wide
know
as
what they're
possible.
trying to do. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, I want to make sure it's not, didn't have to go all the way back.
Right.
So, all right, that's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions, by the commission? Okay, roll call?
John Ritter,
Yes.
Jeff Moore,
Yes.
John Nuremberg is no, David Divin,
Yes.
Jimmy Hansen,
Yes.
Hart Nelson.
Yes.
Motion passes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nuremberger. Mr. Ellerman?
Thank you very much.
Talk to Mr. Stryler what the next step is in this process. Thank you. Next up on the agenda is application for subdivision plat for 8815, 8825, and 8827 Litzsinger Road. Is the applicant here? Would you please come on up and state your name and address, please?
My name is Eric Kirby, and I am with Volz Engineering. Our business address is 10849 Indian Head Industrial Boulevard in St. Louis. So I'm gonna move this over to the side a little bit so I can get around it. You can all see it. So we're petitioning to create 3 lots, A, B, and C here. We're working for the credit union. They're interested in buying lot C here. They want that particular square footage. When we made our original petition and contact with Mr. Stryler, he pointed out to us that we have 3 buildings on one lot, or 3 principal structures on one parcel, and felt we needed to try to address that with that plat. So we set the line in here that creates lot A and B. We set it 5 feet off of this middle building, or 8825 building, mainly because that's the side yard setback. Now, because of that, that forces us on Lot A to only have a 39-foot wide lot, which we understand is non-conforming. we're trying to make the argument that, these buildings are existing, the use was existing as rental structures, it's kind of a soft lot that was already there. We're trying to meet that setback requirement mainly because your zoning code in the nonconformity section seems to put more weight on trying to meet with the side yard setback. It allows a reduced lot width, but the side yard setback is not allowed to be violated in the zoning ordinance. So that's why we set the configuration the way we did.
Okay, so, as I understand it correctly, your proposed Lot A has a 39-foot
Frontage.
width, frontage.
Yes, yeah,
where
width requirement,
the code would
width.
be 40.
Yes.
And the other issue then is on the side yard setback.
Well, there is I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No, you're fine. I'm sorry, the front, is it the front setback?
Yeah, the front setback on Lot C is the existing building is within the required setback. Again, that would be considered a legally non-conforming situation that was made non-conforming by the chapter of our zoning ordinance. And on Lot A, that existing residential structure also falls within the side setback
Okay.
on the western lot line. And again, that's an existing building. And the way and again, I conferred with the city attorney on those issues, and those are clearly legally non-conforming. The one that we are still looking into is how we deal with that 39-foot lot width. Again, we could simply make it 40-foot, but then we get into violations with the setback. The nonconformities allow buildings on lots that don't meet the area and width. So the petitioner would like to argue that, well, we'll comply with the side setbacks for any new structures on this site, but we would like to subdivide this with a 39-foot lot. So we need to make sure that that is a legally non-conforming situation. And as staff, I'm recommending that this maybe this is something we look at the site plan subcommittee with an attorney opinion, if you don't mind.
Okay. With that, open it up to questions of the commission. Anyone have any questions for the applicant or for Mr. Stryler? Everyone understand what we're doing here? Need some little more input from the city attorney? Would anybody from the public care to address the applicant or the commission on this matter? Tina? Okay. Well, and I guess the next step is to have when is the next?
Well, there is a conflict for myself on the 27th, but that is the advertised next site plan subcommittee meeting. But if you remember, we also have some other old business to tend to, and we don't know when the Metro might be resubmitting.
Okay.
And so we're going to have some pretty hard dates coming up, and maybe we can, I can send some information once we get a better idea when we'll have those submittals. But I trust this will be ready just as soon as we can get an opinion back from the city attorney, but we'll try and get this established maybe even quicker than the 27th.
Okay.
We'll have to do a straw poll to try to figure out which date works best, but the evening of the 27th does not.
Okay.
We're in the booze plane.
We should coordinate that as well.
So, Mr. Kirby, you understand where we are then on this?
Yes, you're
We're
sending
gonna
us to
push
site
this
plan
off for a little
commission.
bit, right?
Okay, can I ask a question
You can
here?
ask anything.
And we talked to Todd about this, but I wanted to throw it out there. Can we hinge this line right here? I can make it 40 feet on the right-of-way, still meet the 5-yard setback. Now, it puts an angle point in the line, but that does give you your 40 feet out at the right-of-way.
Does that allow you to get the 40-foot all the way to the building line?
That I would have to check.
It's a moving target, so. I would say if we could do that and avoid the variance situation, that would obviously be advisable.
Okay.
Even if you do have the crooked line, it's kind of like the petitioner before you.
Yes.
And then once the buildings come down, a simple building adjustment, boundary adjustment will allow you to straighten that out.
Right.
So let's look into that and maybe present that to site plan subcommittee.
Other than that, Mr. Stryler, does the application, does it conform to all the minimum requirements?
It does. The nonconformities I highlighted in the staff report were the only 3 issues, 2 of which are legally nonconforming, and the lot width is one that I need to get back with you on.
Okay.
Everything else meets the requirements. Again, it's in the residential zoning district, so these lots are much bigger than the minimum lot size, so.
Okay. Well, Mr. Kirby, I'm sure you would like to get this resolved tonight, but unfortunately, we
I
don't have
would.
enough
I
information to
understand.
do that. So
Okay.
we'll see you at the site plan review or something. Yes? Mr.
Just
Moore.
real quick, before we go, if the intent is to tear the two buildings down and presumably rebuild.
These two buildings here,
Correct.
I don't think that's the intent at this time. The intent is to create a parcel over here for the credit union to purchase. These two are still going to stay and remain as rental properties, I believe, but they're, two properties by the current owner. And so there's not intent right now to tear them down, so that's why we were trying to come up with a lot configuration.
So the bank doesn't own all three proposed parcels
The bank owns
today?
none of these right now. The credit union, which is right across the street here, owns these properties. They want to purchase this,
Got it.
but in order to do that, we need to create a legal parcel for them to purchase. And then that triggered the other two.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I admittedly kind of brought this on to the petitioner because it really rubbed me the wrong way that we had three principal buildings on, one lot. I mean, that kind of complicates our revenue generating abilities as well as the county's. And so they really, Lot C is the subject. And so what they were trying to do is just do Lot C and then Lot C would be B, so just two
Yeah.
lots. And then they'd have two residential structures on one lot. So we kind of have to follow the rules of proportionality, like what's better? Having a lot that's 39 foot less than the minimum, or actually having, a lot of record for each principal structure? For taxing purposes, I think having the individual lots would be in the city's best interest, but I'm going to defer to council on that one.
Well, there we are.
All right.
Guess we'll see you at the subcommittee. Thank you, Mr. Kirby. At this point in time, ma'am, the only issue that's in front of this commission is to whether or not to permit the subdividing of that one lot into three lots. In terms of what use is going to be made of that, that won't come up for quite some time. Sure, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is application for a subdivision plat for 8829 White Avenue. Is the applicant here? Anyone on behalf of the applicants?
Mr. Chair, the applicant couldn't make it tonight, but
Okay.
I could certainly give a brief description of the plat on the agenda tonight. What we have here is a plat, single ownership, and there was some confusion. The petitioner is trying to subdivide these plots, or so they can divvy it up through an inheritance. Well, they thought these plats were already subdivided, which they were at one time. But the owner had called the county and had consolidated these for tax purposes, so she had one lot and was living in the home. So they thought it was already subdivided, thought they could possibly get this fixed through a boundary adjustment, but as you know, our boundary adjustment requirements state that if it creates a lot, you have to go through a full subdivision. And so I contacted the county. They could see where this was part of a subdivision, and these three lots did exist at one time, exactly how they were drawn. But they had been consolidated to one lot. And so the proper way to do this is just to re-subdivide it, just like the plat is proposed, to create those three lots. And so what we did is we went ahead and made notice, contacted the neighbors so they could see what they can, kind of clearly see that the petitioner is subdividing. And again, they're clearly just subdividing to make three lots that comply with the city's residential B district and all other regulations with regard to the city's zoning as well as subdivision requirements. Now, you will note there is a shed that would fall within the setback line of one of the lots, and on that plat, that shed is to be removed. So I would condition this plat that no building permits shall be issued until that shed comes down, thereby getting it outside the setback.
Okay, open it up to, well, does the commission have any problem proceeding on this without the applicant being present? No objections to that? Okay, anybody have any questions for Mr. Stryler concerning this application? Anybody in the public care to, ma'am, if you would, just step up to the podium so that we can hear you. I apologize, but if you would just come up and state your name and your address for us, please.
I'm Martha Lombardo from 2301 Patton, which is on the corner right across the White Avenue from this lot. When Clarence and Minnie bought that property, she told me it was a double lot, not a triple lot, but it was a double lot. Was it actually marked down as 3 lots when she purchased it, when they purchased it?
Do you know when that was, when she purchased it?
About 100 years ago.
Yeah, no, the county, it wasn't an official plat, it was an old plat.
Right.
But they could see where it was in fact 3. And those lot sizes are certainly all very consistent in size, and they would meet the requirements.
That section would make consistent sizes according to our plans for the width of lots in Brentwood.
Yes.
I mean, what concerns me is that sometimes some of these lots seem to be narrow, and they put up, looks like a condominium rather than a home. And that's what worries me. They're gonna be tearing down the good trees that were in there. And the house, people don't wanna save the old homes. But that's what concerns me, is I don't want condominium-looking buildings across the street from me.
Well, I understand your concern, and unfortunately, all that's in front of us tonight is whether or not to approve this
Dividing it up
request
into
to
3.
subdividing it. And as long as it meets the minimum requirements, and in this case, some of them are, it has to be 50 feet wide. Each of the proposed lots have to
So-
be at a minimum 50 feet, which it is, and they have to be at least 5,000 square feet.
And that's-
Which they are.
Okay.
And so as long as they meet all the setbacks,
All right,
the
that's-
front and the back, there's really nothing we can do about that.
That's what I
What you're
didn't know.
talking about would be the next step.
Yeah, okay.
This is
But
simply
I
just to
didn't
turn
know
this
if
into
it
3
was
lots.
Big enough to be 3 lots. That's what I wasn't sure what the boundaries were supposed to be.
That's a great question,
So-
and Mr. Stryler has reviewed everything and says that there is enough there to turn that into 3
Okay.
lots.
Great, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I could just add to.
Sure.
Kind of add some comfort. And again, since the 100 years when this might have originally been platted, the city does have design guidelines for architectural structures to make sure that there is an appropriate level of continuity, within the building. So you will have, a committee, if you will, review, the architectural elevations to make sure that it fits with the character of the neighborhood. And I believe at the last board meeting, your alderman had a lengthy debate or discussion about preserving trees and responded to some petitioners' concerns about that, some speakers' concerns about that. And it sounds like the city is getting ready to maybe do a tree inventory and really follow up on that concern. Believe me, you're not the only one
Yeah,
that,
because we've had people come by and take pictures of that one, what is that, a magnolia tree?
Yeah.
That is so beautiful every year. They're taking pictures of it because they figure it's going to be gone.
so that will be taken into consideration, not at this phase, as the chairman mentioned, but certainly when they look to do
Yeah,
a
there-
site plan.
Ma'am,
Will we be
there's,
notified when this comes up?
you will. It's called the Architectural Review Board,
Yeah.
the ARB, and you will be getting notices of that. Yes. And I encourage you to attend and let them know what your concerns are. If you'd like to come on up, please.
Just a quick question, do you know what it will be like within the next couple of months? That will be getting a car in the mail, or?
I-
Depends.
We would have no
It
idea.
just-
So they're not gonna be tearing down anything right away?
There was no initial plans. It's my understanding, if you will, it's someone's heir, someone's mother possibly, and it's just, these are the kids that are just trying to separate it. It may happen, like you said, in a couple of weeks, it may never happen.
Primarily, they're going to start with the garage, that outbuilding.
Well, they would have to get rid of that before they did anything, because right now, that's a legally non-conforming situation, because it's too close to the lot line.
Okay.
Any other member of the public have any questions for the commission? Okay, the chair would entertain a motion.
We look at, first question, can we approve without the applicant?
Yeah, yes, we can.
Then
That's,
I'm-
we don't need the applicant here, right, Mr.
No.
Stryler? Okay.
Motion
With
to-
that in mind, anybody care to make a motion?
Motion to approve the subdivision as noted.
We have a second?
I'll second it.
I'm sorry?
I'll second.
Okay. We have a first and second. Any further questions by anybody on the commission? Roll call?
Art Nelson,
Yes.
Jennifer Hansen,
Yes.
David Dimmitt,
Yes.
John Nuremberg is yes, Jeff Moore,
Yes.
John Rutter.
Yes.
Motion passes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Nuremberger. Mr. Stryler, you will let the applicant know?
I will. This one also would be poised and ready for the final as well, provided they put the proper script and the title. I would consider a motion to forward the final as well to the board so they can consider these in one meeting. Otherwise, it'd stretch it out another month.
Okay, you want to do that? Anybody on the commission care to make that motion to have this act as the final plat as well, like we did the first applicant?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any questions on doing that? Seeing none, roll call.
Art Nelson,
Yes.
Jennifer Hansen,
Yes.
David Dimmitt,
Yes.
John Nuremberg, yes, Jeff Moore,
Yes.
John Rutter.
Yes.
Okay.
Next item up, aldermanic report. We have an alderman present, we have two, nobody wants to make a report, okay. Number 7, city planners report. Mr. Stryler, do you have anything for us?
No, I will be in contact with you regarding our next site plan subcommittee meeting, so we could take a look at that subdivision plat on Litzsinger in a timely manner, as well as some pending old business.
Okay.
May I ask a question?
Yeah, what's that?
Mr. Stryler, do we have any checking in from the Metro on Manchester? Have they
It has been elevated to possibly the city administrator and mayor's level, and they are working with them to try to schedule a meeting with myself and members of the board of aldermen, as well as the petitioner to, I think, get some hard dates. As you know, they've made some revisions to the plan, and they're kind of doing some recalculations. So we have not received anything that I'm aware of to date, but we are trying to get information just as soon as we can. And as you know, the petitioner is also trying to move swiftly so they can secure financing.
That's my understanding. I wanted to make sure that it was still true that they are moving forward and to
Yes.
your knowledge. Okay, thanks.
Mr.
I just,
Nuremberg.
regarding the Metro, it also said they're coming back with the plan and the rezoning is going to be done by the one plan instead of
That's a great
Yeah.
point. If you paid attention to the Board of Aldermen meeting, as you know, the petitioner came forward and he decided that he wanted to not separate the rezoning, which we did at Site Plan Subcommittee, or maybe it was Planning Commission. Rather than moving forward with just the rezoning, he wants them to move in unison. So you all, as well as the board, will be considering the rezoning and the site development plan and the CUP all at one time.
Right.
And
Great.
that puts this more in continuity with all the city's other plan districts where a site plan is required.
Right. Thank you.
So I guess we're going to have to wait to see what we do for a date for the sub.
Yeah, I don't feel comfortable.
So it's hard to get commitments at this point, not knowing what
Yes.
the date is.
Is there any reason that we have to do a site plan for just this unless Metro comes or whatever? If they get a ruling from the attorney, couldn't you go to the next full meeting?
I think we could do that.
I'm just saying, keep them from having to come out 2 times or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know that I understand. I think what we're looking at is getting everything, CUP, the conditional use permit, because that's needed.
No,
because
no,
the
no,
building-
no, I'm sorry, not
Just the site plan?
Metro.
Let's talk about the Litzsinger.
Yeah.
Oh, Litzsinger.
Yeah,
If we get the opinion from the city attorney, and we get an answer and the applicant can live with that, is there a need for a site plan review, or can they just come to the next meeting, the planning and zoning
Yeah,
commission
I
meeting?
would say so. Yeah, I would think that
I think
the real thing.
especially if you don't have a meeting for the Metro.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's excellent.
All right.
In fact, Chairman Daming has told me that if it does go to subcommittee and that meeting happens to be before planning commission, you could vote on it then.
Right.
So that would put it before your next meeting.
Well, let's see what
Yeah.
the city
Let's see
attorney has to
what
say.
O'Keefe has to
Okay,
say.
all right. Rationale for the Board of Aldermen, Mr. Stryler, can you take care of that, or somebody?
Nothing to report?
Okay. Item 10, other business.
I have one question.
Yes.
Can you find out about the lawn care location at Manchester Road? We approved a site plan for them to repave the back lot, and they were gonna open up a store, 2 locations. It's all painted green, it looks all nice, but they're still having their lawnmowers set out on the one side, and it's supposed to be all in conjunction with that. I don't know if they're using the other side or whatever. They have paper in the windows and that sort of thing. So I don't know if they have an official occupancy permit or anything like that. So, because all those lots are supposed to have been paved in
Okay.
the back.
Do you have an address or a case number or title? Or?
It's not Mary Avenue, Ruth and Manchester.
Okay. I bet Larson's probably familiar with it. I'll follow up on it.
Yeah,
Everybody is.
yes. Lawn Care Equipment Company.
Outdoor storage, and then
Yes.
they've got some, they need to have some paving done.
Yeah, there's a whole site plan that we
Okay, I'll pull it.
approved, so
Okay.
it's not been finished, and I just want to make sure it's finished before they get their occupancy permit.
Any other business? I have one announcement. I have submitted my letter of resignation from this commission. And, you know, I've been doing this for 10 years, and it's been a wonderful experience doing this. It gave me the opportunity to be involved in public service, which I think is a wonderful thing to do. And it's also a wonderful experience because of everybody on this commission. You know, you are the ones that make this enjoyable. We've had a lot of turnover in the 10 years that I've been here, but the one constant has been the degree of professionalism and respect that you show each other and you show the applicants. That's something you should be very, very proud of. You set a wonderful example for everybody in this city. You know, we take some beatings, P&Z does. Sometimes they're justified, sometimes they're unjustified. But that aside, you still handle yourself in a very professional way, and you should be very proud of that. So I encourage anybody in this audience or any of the 3 or 4 people watching on YouTube later on, if they wish to be engaged in this, contact the mayor, give him your name, and let him know that you would like to serve on Planning and Zoning Commission, because there's going to be an opening on this. So with that, the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned.
Congratulations, Dan.
I don't see any tears.
That's it.
That was a surprise.